In this video, we'll give you 6 quarterbacks we dislike in 2024 fantasy redraft leagues. I'm Jim Coventry along with Anthony Servino of RotoWire.
Jim, the first quarterback I dislike in redraft right now was C.J. Stroud, and I get it, a lot of people love C.J. Stroud. They bring in Stephon Diggs. He's coming off of a majestic rookie season where in fantasy, QB 7 in points per game, QB 11 overall, but there was a lot of quarterbacks that were banged up and missed some time. Guys like Burrow, Anthony Richardson, Kirk Cousins, who, if healthy, they're more than likely pushing Stroud back outside of that QB 11 finish. Now, CJ Stroud, I question, are they going to have to throw as much in Houston? And they didn't throw a lot. They were 14th in pass attempts, 12th in pass plays per game. Now they bring in Joe Mixon, a much better, reliable running back than what they had last year with Devin Singletary and Dameon Pierce. I also expect this defense to improve in year 2 with DeMeco Ryans calling the shots. So if this team is going to be better defensively, they're going to be less shootouts. Now, let's go back to C.J. Stroud as a thrower. He didn't throw, he wasn't wowing us with stats. Not the way we should if we're drafting a guy 6th overall at the quarterback position. He only had one game in the regular season where he threw for more than 3 touchdowns. He threw for 5 in week 9 against Tampa Bay. He also threw for 470 yards, which was another outlier. When it comes to CJ Stroud, I love him as an NFL quarterback, but when it comes to fantasy football, I think he's going severely overvalued.
The first quarterback I dislike in 2024 redraft leagues is Jayden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. In many leagues, Daniels is going as a borderline quarterback, 1 in 12 team leagues, and I understand he can run. He had a great last year in college. I want to point some things out, though. Jayden Daniels had been starting in college since 2019. It wasn't until 2023 that he threw more than 17 touchdowns. And yes, he threw 40 of them last year. But my question when that happens is that a quarterback with a lot of experience being a man against boys at the end of a collegiate career, that is too big of a jump to explain away. So I'm very concerned that he topped out in college. Also, yes, Daniels is a dual threat. He can run on designed runs. He can take off when a play breaks down. But here's the thing. He's 210 pounds, and that's his listed weight. My RotoWire teammate Mario Puig is convinced that Daniels got some weight going for the combine, but really believes he's closer to 190 pounds. Now, I don't know if that's accurate, but if he's anything less than 210, this is a player who did not avoid hits in college. If you do that in the NFL, this is men hitting you. This is a big, big problem. So Jayden Daniels, those reasons make me worry. In college, even when he played well, he'd lock onto his first read. In the NFL, yeah, he has Terry McLaurin, and that's a good thing. But regardless, if defenses know that's where he wants to go, they're going to overplay that. And I'm not confident that offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury is going to be a difference maker. Some good things happened in Arizona. I tend to think it was not Kingsbury. It was Kyler Murray. Kingsbury runs a very predictable offense. Defenses could figure out quickly. So I am out on Jayden Daniels.
Jim, the next quarterback I dislike going into fantasy draft season, Jordan Love. And right now it looks like we're getting Jordan Love at a value. This is a guy last year, quarterback 5 overall and in points per game. But once again, we factor in some of the quarterbacks that missed time last year. And Jordan Love's fantasy finish is probably getting knocked a few rows back. Now, let's look at some of the passing metrics for Jordan Love. This is a guy who threw it 579 times, 5th most amongst quarterbacks. Are they going to throw as much next year? My answer is probably going to be no. Normally, LaFleur's always had good defenses in the Aaron Rodgers era. So Aaron Rodgers did not throw the football as much as we saw Jordan Love throw it. If you're not going to throw it this much with Aaron Rodgers, why do it with Jordan Love unless you have to? So if this defense improves, this is going to be another team that is going to be throwing less. They also prioritized the running back position, and we know LaFleur likes to run the football. They paid Josh Jacobs. They drafted Marshawn Lloyd. A.J. Dillon was a free agent. They brought him back too. This tells me they want to run the football more. And Jordan Love, when it comes to a rushing floor, he was okay, 247 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. But with that backfield, can we really expect Jordan Love to rush for another 4 scores? This is a team that also, they don't have an alpha receiver. They have nice receivers. They have a bunch of number 2 and 3 wide receivers, but they don't have that alpha that Jordan Love can rely on. So there's just a lot of knocks on here. If I'm drafting a quarterback in the top 10 or 12, I want him to have an alpha. I want him to have a little bit of a rushing floor, and I want them to be a team that passes a ton. And last year, Green Bay, 15th in team pass plays per game. So I think Jordan Love is going a little bit overvalued going into fantasy drafts.
If you enjoy videos like this, please consider hitting the like button and subscribe to the RotoWire Fantasy Football channel on YouTube. Also, check out all of our fantasy football content and rankings by getting a free 2-day trial with no credit card needed. Go to rotowire.com/Jim to see all of our content. My next quarterback who I dislike in 2024 redraft leagues, Tua Tagovailoa of the Miami Dolphins. Look, the first thing I want to say is this. I hope that young man has health for his entire career and life, takes no more shots to the head. That is my greatest hope. The reality is, Tua Tagovailoa, we cannot forget 2022, the significant and severe head injuries he had. 2023, very happily and fortunately, he avoided any injuries. But to me, you're living on, from an injury perspective, borrowed time there. It's the NFL. It's a physical sport, regardless of the rules. In addition to that, there are a lot of weaknesses to Tua Tagovailoa's game. First of all, you see him frequently underthrowing past the Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's another year older. Maybe Tyreek Hill can't fight back 5 yards through 2 defenders as much as he used to grab some of those plays. Also, Tua Tagovailoa has some issues driving the ball to the perimeter. Defenses have figured this out and have taken parts of the field away on him, and Tua Tagovailoa usually has no answers. Tagovailoa probably starts the season well. Mike McDaniel each year comes out with something new and dynamic on offense that allows his playmakers to shine, and it helps Tua Tagovailoa. All that said, the quarterback has yet to throw 30 touchdowns in a season with a roster around him that is loaded with talent. And I know there was some missed time in there as well, but regardless, Tagovailoa offers little to no threat to run, 0 in the running game. That makes him even tougher to draft in fantasy leagues.
Jim, my final quarterback I dislike going into fantasy redraft season is Jared Goff. And I've always been a Jared Goff guy, but I like Jared Goff as an NFL quarterback better than I like him as a fantasy football quarterback. And there's a big difference. Guys like Blake Bortles and Justin Fields, excellent fantasy quarterbacks at times, but they find themselves out of a job more times than not. When it comes to Jared Goff, he had a great year last year. Quarterback in 11 points per game, quarterback 7 overall. But just like I said about those other 2 players, there were a lot of guys who were missing that probably knocks Jared Goff back a few spots. If we look at Jared Goff's career as a fantasy quarterback, he's a lot closer to a quarterback 14 or 15 in points per game than he is to a quarterback 10 or 11 in points per game. So we're drafting Goff right now as a quarterback 13 off the board. This is a Lions offense that we know they want to unlock Jahmyr Gibbs in year 2. They still have David Montgomery. Now, what are we going to get out of Jameson Williams? Because he could single-handedly make Jared Goff a top 8 quarterback, but I just don't know how they're going to use him. Plus, this Lions defense, they improved the defense a little bit this offseason. There was a lot of times last year where they were throwing the football to stay in and win games. If this defense takes a step forward, I don't know if Jared Goff throws as much. Also, Jared Goff, his home and away splits, they're atrocious. They've always been and always will be. At home, you start him, Jim, you say it, and on a road, you bench him. So if you're drafting Goff, you're going to have to handcuff him with another quarterback that you need to start on your during his road games. So there's just a lot of factors of why I am out on Jared Goff at cost.
The last quarterback I don't like in 2024 fantasy drafts is Baker Mayfield of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Full disclosure, last year he was my quarterback 3 in every super flex league. Liked the potential for him doing some damage. I was really surprised that Dave Canales, who was the coach in Tampa Bay, went away from a lot of the things he liked to do and found what worked best for Mayfield. I think it was a perfect storm. The downfield passing into Mike Evans worked really well. The Buccaneers got excellent pass protection out of their tackles, and Mayfield was able to hang in the pocket a little longer than usual. Overall, it was a career year for Mayfield. Losing Coach Canales, they get Liam Cohen. Now, between Kentucky and the McVay branch, where Cohen's been, a little uncertainty, and the coaching sounds good, but Mayfield seems to need things to work perfectly for things to go well for him. And again, last year was great, but simply betting on Mayfield to run that back with a new coach, that gets me nervous because Mayfield has done one thing in his career. He's been inconsistent. There's too much history. I'm willing to let somebody else take that gamble, and I'm out on Baker Mayfield.